By way of introduction, I'm Bill Keyworth, Vice President and Principal Analyst at ptak-noel-associates. And with me today is Dave-Roudebush, Executive Vice President at promisec. Welcome to part 4 of this IT management series on endpoint control. This last segment deals with the benefits of implementing an agentless solution, the things that you get when you actually go down this path. So Dave, how can this kind of agentless technology become beneficial to the IT organization, this kind of true agentless technology?
Simplest thing, right information at the right time. Because it's not dependent on those things that can go wrong, you get a much better answer of what's taking place. The interesting thing is, in the IT world, when I talk to my customers, when I talk to my prospects, they're the experts on how to run their business. People don't lack in knowledge, they don't lack in understanding, they don't lack in experience. They lack in accurate data, and that's the problem. Because when I'm dependent on things that have to have these interdependencies working so consistently, these agents, this infrastructure, these process service registry-keys, we know they get disrupted, we know they don't give us the right information. In IT, how oftentimes have you sat there and made a decision and the phone rings 5 minutes, 5 days later, and you go, oh, I wish I would have had this information before I made that decision. And that's really the struggle. It's not how to make a decision, but no one in IT and security really want to make a decision because they always know deep down, I don't have the right data.
So what's the alternative to agent technology that's become so pervasive in managing and securing endpoints?
If you apply agentless with agents, and that's really the confusion is, people think, should I do one or the other? No, the right answer is you have to have both. But by combining the power and the capabilities of an agent-based strategy with the independent, fact-finding, and accurate measuring, monitoring the effectiveness of those, the notification and the corrections, allows companies to have a proactive look at how they manage the business. Because I can find what's wrong and I can react to it before it hits my infrastructure.
This kind of true agentless technology seems to have some inherent benefits in network security and security management. Can you enumerate on that?
By blending agentless endpoint management with network security, you kind of get the best of both worlds. And the reason is because with the proliferation of technology today, the fact that I can take an iPhone or a BlackBerry and put a 3G hole in any network I want, it becomes a lot harder to control the flow of data, where data comes in and out. Talk to anybody in the security world and they'll say the best option you have is to epoxy every USB port. We've all heard that and kind of joke, but we can't do that. So you have to have a blended way of measuring and monitoring what's taking place on the network, at the same time using that same strategy on the endpoint and not being at risk of that agent not working.
What about the use of this kind of agentless technology for IT operations in change management, asset management, problem management? How can it be best used there?
And the reality is, despite the best laid out plan and the best laid out products, if something's altered on an endpoint, updates don't take place. Patch management I call push and hope technology. You can do everything right, but there's a lot of things can avoid that update actually taking place on the endpoint. You've spent the money, you've invested the time, you've done everything right, but the change didn't take place all the time. And the moment it doesn't take place all the time, you become at risk.
And the implication is that agentless enables that to happen all the time.
Check and balance. Trust but verify.
Okay.
We do everything right, we train our people right, but we have to trust that they do it right, but we have to verify. And the cost of not effectively verifying that is tremendous, and we see it every day when we try to manage our
And that's the
budgets.
contribution of agent, is this verification.
Of agentless.
Of agentless.
Blending, and the right answer, I think, is blending agent and agentless.
Why aren't you recommending the traditional answer of, rip and replace products that are currently managed in the endpoint? Things like, your antivirus systems, your McAfee, your Symantec, your patch management systems, BigFix, your software configurations, LANDesk, SCCM. Explain this proposal of not ripping those things out and replacing them.
Because it's not addressing the core issue. And another critical piece is the accuracy of the data. Everyone has got log files of information, and you spend as much time trying to determine, is this a false positive or is this not? In today's economy, with the staffing and the budget constraints there, no one has time for that. So at promisec, we've come up with a technique and an approach that our promise has no false positives. We're very, very accurate, very, very efficient, again, at measuring anything within the Windows environment that matters to you.
Dave, this is a lot to believe and frankly to digest. Does this kind of skepticism happen frequently when you identify this problem to the customer, and how do you deal with it?
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. And I hope not only are you skeptical, but you want to prove me wrong. Because what we do different from everybody is we walk into organizations in a matter of a couple hours. And we don't talk, we don't spend a lot of time promising, we don't talk about a lot of labs. What we do is we install the product, we do a POC typically in under 2 hours, and we show you your data. Then I'm going to guarantee someone's going to say that information can't be wrong, and we want to walk to the machine with your engineers. If I'm wrong, I'll let you have the product free for 6 months. I haven't given away once in 4 years. Because the techniques and the strategies we use are always right. The data we present you is information that's not been available. And I know that because if it was available, it would have been resolved before we showed up. So we have a very simple value prop. Your data will determine whether you need us. And I can prove it in 2 hours or less. That's one of the interesting strategies and the tremendous benefits of agentless technology. We don't have to look at 6, 8, 10 weeks of trying to study and analyze. Install a quick app. On one machine, I push a button and we look at the data. If I'm wrong, you can have the product free for 6 months.
Dave, what would you want to say in closing to an IT organization that's struggling with these kind of endpoint issues that are caused by registry keys, processes, and services that are so essential and necessary in a Microsoft environment?
Sure, I think the first thing we say is at promisec we understand you know how to run your business. You're the experts of what you're trying to do. We also understand you don't always have the right information you need at the right time to effectively deal with these types of challenges. So think of promisec as the BASF of the software world. I don't care what products you own. That's your job. My job is to make sure they're working all the time and always, not some of the time. Because it's in that gap that all the cost, all the risk, all the headaches exist, is when something's not working right. And because